Hello, and welcome. I'm so glad you could join us today. For all the students from Europe Hotel School tuning in, this session is going to be incredibly valuable for your journey in hospitality. We're about to unpack a really critical financial tool that every great hotel leader needs to understand inside and out, the FF&E Reserve. Let's dive right in.
You know, when we think about a beautiful luxury hotel, our minds usually go to things like the brand, the five-star service, maybe its amazing location. But the physical building itself, the very thing that creates the guest experience, is facing a constant, relentless threat. And it's not coming from the hotel down the street. It's something much more fundamental.
And that threat brings us to a core challenge that every single hotel operator deals with every single day, the simple, unavoidable reality of depreciation.
To really understand the stakes we're talking about, let's just put a number on it. A high-end luxury hotel can easily be a $250 million asset. Think about that. That's a massive, massive investment that has to be protected and defended against the constant wear and tear of just being open for business. Because here's the thing, a hotel isn't like a bar of gold that just sits in a vault. It's more like a living, breathing thing. From the minute the doors open, the carpets are getting walked on, the paint is getting scuffed, the technology is starting to feel dated. Without a steady stream of investment, that $250 million asset starts to lose its shine and, more importantly, its ability to compete.
So, the big question is, how does the industry build a financial shield against this constant, slow decay? Well, the answer is a very dedicated and disciplined financial strategy.
And here it is. It's officially called the Reserve for Replacement, but you'll almost always hear it called the FF&E Reserve. Just think of it as a mandatory lockbox savings account for the hotel's future. It's an escrow, which means that money can only be used for its one intended purpose, replacing furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
So, where does this money come from? Well, typically, a hotel will automatically siphon off somewhere between 4 and 5% of its total gross revenue and put it directly into this reserve. It might seem like a small slice of the pie, but over time, this consistent funding is what keeps the asset healthy. And the way it's funded is actually pretty clever. The contributions follow the flow of the business. So, during the busy season when a lot of cash is coming in, the reserve grows faster, building up this nice financial cushion. That buffer is then ready and waiting to pay for major projects even during the slower months. It means you can plan for the long term, no matter what last quarter looked like.
Now, having a pot of money is one thing, but making sure it's used wisely and strategically, that's a whole other challenge. And that responsibility falls on the shoulders of one key person.
For the owner's representative, managing this fund is so much more than just another task on their to-do list. It's a fiduciary duty, and that's a really important legal term. It means they have a legal and ethical obligation to act in the absolute best interest of the property owner, prioritizing the long-term health of that asset above everything else.
And this is where you can sometimes see a natural, healthy tension. You see, the hotel's management company, who's focused on day-to-day operations, might see the reserve as this handy savings account for quick, visible upgrades, things that make their jobs easier or look good to guests right now. But the owner's rep has to play the long game. They see it as a strategic war chest meant to protect the asset's value for decades.
So what does that look like in practice? Well, their job really boils down to a few core duties. They have to rigorously audit every single dollar that gets spent. They have to make sure that spending perfectly aligns with the approved long-term capital budget. And above all, their job is to guard the integrity of that reserve, making sure it isn't rated for short-term fixes so it can do its real job, protecting the asset.
All of this leads us to the absolute heart of the matter when it comes to managing this reserve. It's what I call the strategic dilemma, the art of balancing capital expenditures, or CapEx. Because remember, the reserve isn't a bottomless pit of money, it's a finite resource, which means every owner's rep is constantly grappling with this one huge question. With the money we have, where do we put it? Do we fix the aging roof, or do we renovate the lobby to attract more guests?
On one hand, you have what we call defensive CapEx. These are the absolute must-dos, the non-negotiables. We're talking about a leaky roof, an outdated fire safety system, or a failing air conditioning unit. These projects aren't always glamorous, and they might not generate a single dollar of new revenue, but they are absolutely critical to keeping the hotel safe and operational.
And then, on the other hand, you have offensive CapEx. Now, this is the exciting stuff. These are the guest-facing projects designed to drive revenue and keep you ahead of your competitors. Think about a stunning new lobby design, a trendy new restaurant, or upgrading all the rooms with the latest smart technology. These are the things that create buzz. The true genius of a great owner's rep is their ability to master this balancing act. It's not about choosing one or the other. It's about strategically allocating the funds to take care of the foundational, defensive needs while also investing in those offensive projects that keep the hotel profitable and exciting.
So that's how it's supposed to work in a perfect world. But what happens when that balance is lost? What happens when the reserve is mismanaged or neglected? Well, the consequences can be absolutely devastating for the hotel's value.
It usually comes down to two critical failures. The first is what we call cannibalizing the reserve. That's when you raid this protected fund to plug holes in the day-to-day operating budget. The second mistake, which almost always follows the first, is falling into a state of deferred maintenance.
Now, deferred maintenance sounds kind of harmless, doesn't it? Like you're just putting something off. But in reality, it is a dangerous, slippery slope. It's the practice of endlessly postponing essential repairs. That tiny roof leak you ignore today becomes a massive mold and structural problem 5 years from now. It is, quite literally, the physical result of mismanagement.
And here's the brutal bottom line truth. When it comes time to sell a property that has suffered from years of deferred maintenance, the neglect is plain to see. The buyer will see every problem, and the loss in the hotel's value can be staggering. It's a direct and frankly devastating financial consequence of failing to protect that FF&E reserve.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question. It's something I want you to carry with you as you move forward in your own careers. The pressure to choose a short-term fix over a long-term strategy will always be there. Your challenge as a future leader in this industry will be to champion the choice that protects and grows value for the long haul.